Welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast, your home for weekly information and inspiration to help you get the graduate job of your dreams.
Welcome back to the Graduate Job Podcast with your host, James Curran. The Graduate Job Podcast is your weekly home for all things related to helping you on your journey to finding that amazing job. Each week I bring together the best minds in the industry, speaking to the leading authors, entrepreneurs, coaches and bloggers who bring decades of experience into a bite-sized weekly 30-minute show. Put simply, this is a show I wish I had a decade ago when I graduated. Today, I cover video CVs with Jack Catherall from GradEye. Now, I'm sure that everyone listening has a CV, but hands up, how many of you have a video CV? Well, the use of video CVs is growing rapidly, and in this episode we will guide you through everything you need to know to produce a video CV you'll be proud of. But don't worry, it's not just video CVs we cover. Jack also shares his considerable knowledge about all aspects of the recruitment process, and it's worth listening to just for his brilliant tip at the end on how to catch the attention of any CEO. So sit back and enjoy episode 8 with Jack Catherall.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Graduate Job Podcast. I'm very pleased to be speaking today to Jack Catherall. Jack is a Managing Director of GradEye, an innovative social recruitment platform which uses video CVs to connect graduates to employers. Jack, a very warm welcome to the Graduate Job Podcast.
Hi James, thanks for having me on.
No, pleasure. I've given the listeners a very brief introduction of you and your work, but before we jump into the topic today of video CVs, would you like to introduce yourself properly and tell us a little bit more about what it is that you and GradEye do?
Okay, yeah, sounds great. So essentially we're a online social recruitment platform. We are connecting graduates to employers using video CVs. So essentially what our website does, it's all online, it's all web-based. We get graduates coming to our websites and they go through a very simple registration process. That essentially means they come on, select their job preferences in terms of what sectors they want to work in, what salary they require, in terms of location as well. They also then select, academic profiles, so what university you went to, kind of what degree you studied, what grade you got. And then you upload your CV and you essentially do a video profile for us, which is like a covering letter, but it's more visual and it's all audio based as well. And it's a 60-second video of yourself giving an employer an overview of your background, your experience, any noteworthy achievements, and also kind of explaining what industries you want to go into. Once you do that, we have essentially a team behind the scenes who, give everyone a call within 24 hours who sign up. We introduce some vacancies to them that they can, go forward for, and then some interview dates as well. But they also have the chance to go on our website and apply for jobs directly. So there's plenty of employers who are, reaching out to graduates who advertise on our website, and graduates can put their profiles and their CVs in front of employers that way as well. So we're trying to be a one-stop shop for everyone. We don't just, help, in terms of the recruitment process. We also give advice, a bit of information for graduates who perhaps, have not yet graduated, on about, the kind of industry, the kind of hot jobs and, the best way to go about getting them as well.
Excellent. And I know all the listeners will be familiar with CVs and, paper-based CVs, but what would you want to include in a video CV?
Yeah, so, there's plenty of graduates out there. The reason behind setting up GradEye is because, the industry hasn't really changed much in the past 15, 20 years. I think the only thing that technology has brought into recruitment is job boards and psychometric testing. So graduate employers are going through hundreds of CVs, loads of graduates out there with similar backgrounds. What the video does and what it adds to the CV is essentially gives that employer that first impression, which is more visual. You can see presentation skills. You can see, how well people communicate as well. Business acumen and also emotional intelligence. And that's what you don't see on a CV. It's personality standing out using a video.
I can imagine it quite daunting, though, when you record the first one. How long would you recommend the actual video to be?
So we actually set a limit of 60 seconds, but we give candidates an unlimited number of attempts to keep practicing it over and over again. And essentially because we're the middleman, the recruitment service, it's our job to support the candidates through the process. So we know that the first couple of times you're going to mess up, or, you're not used to hearing yourself or seeing yourself on camera. But, more and more kind of graduates or young professionals used to it, the YouTube generation are kind of coming on board with it as much as possible. So We understand it's going to take a couple of times, but it's our job here as GradEye to support candidates through that process as much as possible.
I know how many times it takes me to re-record the intros and outros to the podcast, so I can imagine with a video as well, it would take even longer.
No, definitely. For example, we've had one candidate who's done an exceptional video, and it took them 30 attempts. We've had others who've done just as well, that's in 1 or 2. Now, I suppose it comes down just to, that level of confidence, understanding the reason behind it, and really what we're trying to see and what the employer is trying to see. And once you have that from the start, then it's quite easy to do, and most graduates get it, after a couple of attempts.
So I've got 60 seconds. Where do you start if you're trying to sell yourself?
Yeah, so introduction, an introduction should always be quite informal, just kind of going, hi, my name's Jack, I'm a recent graduate from the University of East Anglia, and a brief introduction to your academic background. That's always a good start, because at graduate level, in particular our market, employers want to know, okay, what university have you gone to, what have you studied, and who are you, and get that first impression across straight away. So, a good strong introduction is always, the most important part. Now, it's always said that, on CVs, people spend about 6 seconds on average on a CV, whereas, we're giving you 10 times the length to kind of get that impression across. So we're trying to get you to really get that impression across in 60 seconds, so you get employers staying longer and looking at you for a bit more as well.
In terms of equipment then, do the graduates film it themselves, or do they come into your office to film it?
So it's all web-based. So we've implemented kind of a web-based system onto our website. So essentially you go through, and it's like doing a Skype call or a kind of recording a video on your MacBook. That the video is already implemented into the computer. So essentially it goes to your webcam, and then the video question pops up, and it pretty much says, question what I just said in 6 seconds, give you an overview of your CV, any work history, and any noteworthy achievements to date. And then once you click that button, it will start a countdown to 3, 2, 1, and then it will start recording. And then that way you can see yourself, and you record the answer. And then once it comes to the end of the 6 seconds, it will stop, and you get the option to review or submit the video. And most people obviously review it, and then if they don't like it, they can take it and go back to the start again. But it's all web-based. All you need is a webcam, or you can do it on your phone or an iPad or any tablet.
So how can you get your personality across within 60 seconds without sounding arrogant or trying to say how great you are?
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, so and I think that the main issues with video CVs, people perhaps try to overdo it. What the CV doesn't give you is just that kind of sound, and that the hiring process, kind of the look, the feel, the sound of someone's a very much important part of hiring, and it's really just kind of confirming with the employer, this is who I am, this is how I come across, and this is how well I communicate. So it's not about overdoing it at all. It's simply just pretty much portraying yourself like you were to have a conversation in a face-to-face interview. And it's just really holding yourself well, presenting yourself well, and obviously you're looking the part as well.
You mentioned they're looking the part. Would you recommend formal dress as if you were going to an interview, or is it more informal?
Formal, but you don't have to go over the top. So in particular for us here, and I'm not talking for all video interviews or any video CVs that you do going forward, but it's something that we want you to kind of obviously make a good impression, but you don't always have to wear a suit and tie. You can come in with a shirt. You don't always have to wear a formal dress, something which obviously makes you look presentable. Definite nose for casual wear. We've had video CVs that come through with candidates wearing hoodie jumpers or vest or even T-shirts. You sometimes got to look like you're going to go to a meeting and present yourself well.
Definitely. And you talked about being able to showcase your public speaking skills. Of course, no better way than doing it actually on a video.
Of course.
Do you find that video CVs work better for some industries and roles than others?
Yeah, so we've had this question before from certain industries. So let's say the tech industries. If it's not a client-facing role, then, why would you need to have the kind of client-facing or the kind of candidate-facing element of the process at the start? It doesn't really matter. It's all about perhaps your academics or experience. But actually what our video CV process does is that it's not always about video. We can get candidates to reply answers to certain questions. So, how would you go about coding this? And it's all about answering the question technically. So it's not just about presenting yourself well. It's about also coming across with the right information as well. we can upload projects, we can upload data onto this video profile that we have, and we get candidates to view that before going to answer the questions. So we might have an employer who's looking for a technical consultant to look at a certain project and look at the review or the case study, and we can get that uploaded, and then the candidate can review that and then answer how they would go about doing this project or case study if they were to come into the industry. So, the initial kind of worries were there for certain industries to start with, but once we can show them, how effective video profiles or video CVs can work in a variety of different roles, then, those barriers soon came down quite quickly.
And what sort of companies do you work with?
So we actually don't just specialize in one area. We actually have a number of different sectors that we work in. So engineering, IT, consultancy, sales and recruitment, advertising. So we're quite widely spread across most sectors. And these range from, large corporations all the way through to small, medium enterprises and startups as well.
What advice would you give to people who might not think that they're outgoing and gregarious and able to, stand up in front of a camera and talk about themselves for 60 seconds?
The best advice I'd probably give in that area is that, when going through your career, you're always going to be pushed outside your comfort zone. If you want to progress or, you want to, definitely get the career ladder, you're always going to be faced with certain situations which perhaps, you need to practice or enhance to improve yourself personally. A video CV is something that you can practice over and over again. You can do it by your own laptop first before you come to our system. And it's something that you perhaps need to get used to. But at the end of the day, people, want to hire good people. And if you can demonstrate that well over camera and also on video, then essentially a good stepping stone to get your foot through the door.
With the growth of social media, especially for job hunting, are candidates able to share it more widely on LinkedIn, for example?
Yeah, so it's essentially part of our product development plan. So a candidate comes to our website, they create a profile page, essentially just like LinkedIn as well. At the moment, we're keeping it closed because we don't want candidates to feel that they are going to do a video and everyone's going to see it. So it's going to be just kind of like a one-on-one basis where the consultants behind the scenes here and the candidate can do their video in a way which they can feel comfortable into it. I think once, the industry gets more used to doing videos, then we'll give access to candidates to export a link like they were to export a Facebook introduction or a LinkedIn introduction. They can share that on their CV to employers, around the world if they need to.
I know that when I've been applying for jobs over the last couple of years, I've had several different CVs which are each tailored in a slightly different way depending on the job which I've been applying for.
Yeah.
Are you able to do the same thing with video CVs and have more than one version depending on the type of role?
Yeah, definitely. So our standard kind of formatted question that we ask candidates is an overview of your CV. But what we can actually say is explain why you want a career within recruitment or, what makes you a suitable candidate for the advertising industry. I mean, at the moment we have digital marketing roles. So we're looking for candidates who can explain their interest or their experience in pay-per-click or PPC is what you call it. So we've essentially said in 90 seconds, give an overview of what you know about PPC and why you'd be suitable for a career within this industry. And the candidates can be very bespoke in their video CV or video profile about doing that as well. And this is very, bespoke for any client, any industry, which is a good part about GradEye as well.
So having seen hundreds of video CVs, what are the top tips that you'd give to make a successful video CV?
Yeah, sure. So the best tips I could give would be to definitely prepare. Don't go into this like a one-off chance and you're going to give it a go and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work. This essentially could break down loads of barriers, and preparing, having a script or a pitch that you can practice over and over again, you can record via your own computer beforehand, is essential because it does make a massive difference. The benefit of what we do is, you have the unlimited number of attempts to practice it, but we always see the candidates who put perhaps, a bit more effort in beforehand, like it was just another interview, and it definitely makes a massive difference. The second tip I'd give is to really come across, bring out your business acumen, bring out your emotional intelligence, bring out, a personality which quite infectious as well. And, this can't be taught, but it's something which you can do by just body posture, looking straight into the camera, speaking clearly and getting to the point rather than, rambling on a bit going forward. And I suppose, the last tip I'd say is that you should always, try to separate yourself from other candidates. And that's not by, kicking a football in the background or anything like that. It's just by trying to get the best bits of your CV to the front of your video and showing employers, this is what I've done to stand out in the past, and this is why, you should consider me as a candidate going forward.
Excellent. And what you said there echoes one of the previous guests, episode 1, John Gregory talked about with preparing for telephone interviews and the need for preparing, but he termed it the spotlight technique, where you internalized the script and what you wanted to say, but you didn't learn it by rote, but you knew it internally, so that you were able to deliver it in a confident and fluid manner without it sounding as if you were just reading it from an auto cue. So you were able to inject your personality into it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had plenty of candidates who come through and you can see them reading the script, even though they're not made it, visually kind of there for us to see the piece of paper in front of them, but they've obviously put it up on a wall behind them, and you can see their eyes going side to side. What we're trying to say here, even though it is computer, you need to come across like you're communicating to a person and essentially trying to sell yourself in your best light. And sometimes reading from a script is not the best way to do it. It's quite robotic, and people are just looking for you to be as natural as possible.
We've given some top tips there generally, but how about from a technical point of view, to make sure that the quality is going to be the best, where they set up the camera, how far away they are, etc. like that. What would you recommend from that point of view?
Yeah, definitely. So the video should always be from kind of just below your shoulders upwards or chest upwards. You don't have to be standing, you can be sitting down, it's perfectly fine, but make sure that the lighting is clear and you can see yourself, there's no dark spots. Make sure your background's suitable. It's not your bedroom, and we've had candidates who have been lying down on their beds whilst doing it, which isn't the best way, the best impression to go across. Obviously, show somebody a bit relaxed or a bit lazy. But it does go a long way. There's certain scenes you have, you do it within, an office space, or you do it within your bedroom, but in a good setting with a bookshelf in the background. It does make a massive difference in comparison to perhaps doing it with a TV behind you and TV playing a bit of noise. So make sure that you're in a space where it's clear, it's professional. You'd be happy for this to go to any employer, from someone who's corporate all the way through to someone who's a startup, perhaps in a creative industry. You want to kind of get a one size fits all.
You talked earlier about how video CVs is just one aspect of the process at GradEye, and you also get the normal CVs in as well.
Yeah.
What tips would you give to make sure for people to help be able to put forward a great CV? What aspects would you expect to see in the CV? Would you expect them to link it to the video CV, or do you see them as two separate entities?
Well, at the end of the day, not everyone's adopting the video CV process yet. It's definitely where the industry is moving. Everyone's seeing the benefits of it because of time and obviously the effectiveness of it as well. CVs are still going to be around, and it's going to be an important way to introduce yourself as well as your video going forward. But with CVs in particular, this is one thing that doesn't happen, is that candidates at graduate level never really clearly write down what it is they want to do in terms of their goals and ambitions. So they're quite open about their opportunities, and that sometimes can come across as quite flaky, or someone who's not entirely sure what they want to do. With someone who comes along with, these are my goals in terms of kind of timelines, or this is what industry I want to get into, reasons why, is always a great way to start your CV, and it gets the employer interested, and they can see the story as to why you've arrived at that decision. The second point on CVs as well, which I suppose 7 times out of 10 I can see on CVs, is that people don't really explain their experience. So if you've been working at a bar, normally I'd see bullet points as working behind, as a cashier or doing stock levels, but this is all things I would expect a barman to do. So you're not really teaching me anything new. What you need to do is show that how you're different from all the other barmen within that same job. And that can be done by, how did you increase efficiency or outputs, or how much revenue did you bring in? And being more specific and being more bespoke about what you contributed and what you gained from that role can make a massive difference from a CV, even if it means you've just been working at a bar or retail. And that's really what you're going to be doing. Every time you're working in the job, you want to be noting down all of the outputs, all of the kind of results you've achieved, and then putting that on your CV, because it makes you different from most other people.
No, that's really good advice. And when I review people's CVs and I hand it back to them, most of the time, next to each bullet point, there's written, "So what?" They'll have, "I did this," and you're like, "Well, so what?" got to take it to the next level and talk about the benefits that you generated for either your personally, the skills you learned, or as you mentioned, being able to save cash or improve the process. And just keep in mind that that's so what really is really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, what makes you, a person that can add value to our company? What have you done to add value to other companies in the past? And just listing duties that you've been doing. It's not rocket science to work out, perhaps, what most of the jobs involve. But what we're trying to find out as employers or recruiters is what makes you different, what makes you stand out, how can you add value to our company going forward as well.
Excellent. Well, Jack, we're approaching now what I term the lightning round part of the interview, where you give some quick insight into your thoughts on books and websites. So, starting with the books, what book would you recommend for listeners to read and why?
Books is a massive part of my life. Personal development is something which is more in the personal development phase. And one book in particular is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I think all students should be reading this book. And it's by Robert Kiyosaki. I'm not sure if you've read it yourself, have you? Or
Absolute classic. Classic.
Yeah, amazing book. And it's all about viewing things differently. Because, lots of our parents and our education system always, promotes going to school, going to college and getting a good job. Whereas Rich Dad, Poor Dad, his dad, who was a poor dad, he was the guy who was telling him to kind of go to the route of going to school, going to college, and then go and get a job afterwards to pay off the mortgage. Whereas his rich dad was his best friend's dad. He was the entrepreneur. He was the guy who thought a lot about personal development, further education, kind of multiple flows of income, about saving, investment going forward. And he taught him a different philosophy. And it's a philosophy that all students should listen to, because what graduates need to do going forward is, not always view life about going forward and getting a job, and just hitting, certain kind of, milestones that are expected of them, and Rich Dad Poor Dad really kind of helps people kind of, I suppose, open up that kind of view anyway going forward. But there's loads of classics like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, my first book I ever read as well when I was 15 years old was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So for 15-year-old to read that, it really kind of made me start thinking, and it's these personal development books that at 15 years old made me, want to go and start my own company, and really kind of develop myself personally going forward. But I think graduates who are looking for a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad is definitely one. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is another one. But go to any bookshop and go to the mind, body, and spirit section. Now, this is a section that most people don't walk to because they're not entirely sure what to find there. But, there's some great sellers in that section. And whatever it is you want to do, whether it's a career, a sport, or hobby, or if you want to kind of like break a habit, or if you want to, achieve a certain result going forward, all of these results and habits have been broken in the past, and they've all been written in books on how to do it. And if you're looking for a great career as well and how to work away with a career ladder, these are all written in certain books. And in the mind, body, spirit section of most bookshops, you have some great authors with great experiences and kind of really kind of teaching the world on how to do things quicker. And it's not about trying to do things your own way and making out as you go along. There's books there to show you how to get to certain spots or points in your life quicker if you were to read these books going forward. So it's definitely kind of a recommendation from me for most people.
Excellent advice there. And I know Rich Dad Poor Dad for me was it was a paradigm shift in terms of having read it. It was that makes sense. And,
yeah, definitely.
You just look at things differently.
Well, most of these things do make sense. Very simple. And with all of these kind of personal development books that I've read, it's stuff that you've all heard before, but when it's put down into certain contexts and you really stop and look at it and you continue to read in that sector or that field, it really opens up more doors, and it kind of changes your shift of pattern and the way you think, rather than having, loads of kind of bad news coming in from 10 o'clock news or newspapers. It's a good kind of, way to kind of get your head away from that and keep positive going forward as well.
Definitely agree. And moving on then, so what website would you recommend listeners to use?
So in particular for careers or just in general?
Generally careers, or generally it's up to you.
Get on YouTube. YouTube has tons of information that you need at any point of the day. YouTube, for me, I know it sounds like a very basic website and something that probably doesn't stand out, but there is so much information on YouTube, visual content that you can get. So there's I mean, I follow, and we were just speaking to this before the call, people like Jim Rohn. He's a motivational speaker, a career coach, and, he's got some great advice on how to work out your life in terms of certain areas, so your finances or your kind of relationships or how to contribute to society. And he's got tons of videos on there. There's other people like Grant Cardone, who's more in the sales industry, but he has a video for young professionals. It's called Millennials, and he posts one every week, and it's about how millennials can do well within certain areas of their life, whether it's career or it's finances as well, relationships. And YouTube for me is something that I have subscribed to probably about 20 to 30 different channels, and it's a great source of information. It's probably definitely a website people shouldn't be using just for kind of silly videos or Vine videos going forward, but where they can really kind of get information on a travel to work or whilst they're at university going to lectures. You can get some really good source of information from there.
And all the videos and books that Jack's mentioned will be listed in the show notes. And I also say that Jack's far too modest. There's an excellent series of videos that he's posted online on YouTube around graduate skills and things to think about with applications. So they're well worth a watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's got my attention. I suppose you've been touching on that, from other employers, people who've done well in this industry, and we're just trying to contribute to the kind of network as well, to the graduate network. And it's our plan in our first year to put 300 videos on YouTube under the GradEye channel. So if you are looking at YouTube and you want some career advice, then feel free to look at our channel, because we'll be posting up loads of different tips and advice for graduates and how to stand out.
Just make sure you don't follow those links to the fluffy cats and other clickbait that's going to draw you away from the good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And finally, Jack, moving on to today, what one tip would you share with the listeners that they could implement today?
Okay, so pick 5 companies who you want to work for, and this could be out of interest, this could be out of role models, this could be out of influences from your parents. Find out who the company CEO is or executive level director, which you can find on LinkedIn. All you need to do is sign up to LinkedIn, type in the name of the company that you want to work for, and then type in CEO next to that, and that person should most likely come up. Then do a video for that person, a 60-second video on why you want to work for that person. Now, make sure you practice this beforehand, but once you send this video over to that person via LinkedIn or email, then it's a great way for you to really demonstrate why you want to work for that person, because an email doesn't do it anymore. A phone call trying to get through to their office doesn't do it anymore. But video is a great way for you to kind of get something visual over to that person. And, it works 100% of the time, done it in the right way with the right amount of effort and commitment and the right pitch as well going forward.
That's a brilliant advice. And listeners, I'd like to hear how you get on with that tip. So let us know via the show notes and the comments page of following that advice and how you get on with it. Jack, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Before we close, how can people connect with you and the work that you do?
Okay, yeah, so I'm on Twitter. You can find my handle, which is at Jack L. Catherall, and that's spelled Catherall. You can come to our website, which is gradeye.com. All of our contact information is on our contact us page. But I'm on LinkedIn as well. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm blogging every week. And also a benefit of connecting with LinkedIn or, sign up to our website is that we're introducing in December 2014 a new initiative, which is a weekly seminar, which is free every Monday night for all graduates who sign up to GradEye or connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And also in the new year, which we were talking about earlier, James, is that we're trying to, launch a new initiative, which is a seminar every Saturday for students to come to for career advice, coaching, not just about your career, but personal development. I have quite an extensive network on coaches within kind of finances and performance-based and results. And this is something that we really want to try and expand and try and get the young professionals working towards. This is free, and it's also a good chance for you to get in front of me and my team here who have loads of vacancies that we can talk about and try and introduce you to some clients going forward as well.
Wise words there. Thank you, Jack.
No worries. Thanks, Jane. Appreciate your time.
My thanks again there to Jack Catherall for all of his insights. They were coming thick and fast. In terms of key things that stuck with me, my first takeaway is on video CVs generally. Do it. Create one. Create several. Tailor them to the job you're applying to. Now, might it be daunting initially? Yes. Might you feel self-conscious stood in front of a camera? Yes. But might it make a difference? Yes. Have a look at your current CV. Do you mention words in it like confident, outgoing, public speaking skills, presentation skills? Now these are all really easy to write down on paper, but difficult to actually prove. But with a 60-second video CV, you can easily demonstrate each of these skills and show your real personality. As Jack said, at a basic level, people want to hire good people. And with a video CV, you can easily show who you really are. Don't be scared. Give it a go. My second key takeaway for you is on the topic of personal development and how you need to make it a part of your life. Jack talked about using YouTube and good old-fashioned books to expand your horizons and push your boundaries. And you were lucky today, listeners, in that you got not one, but two brilliant book recommendations from Jack. Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich, both of which are required reading. So if you haven't already, follow the links in the show notes and get yourself copies. You definitely won't regret it. As Jack said, YouTube is a treasure chest of inspirational and informative material. For example, the Graduate Job podcast is on there. But do definitely check out Jim Rohn and Grant Cardone. Now, Grant Cardone was a new one to me, but I've been really enjoying his 2-minute Grant rants. Definitely worth a watch. Now, it doesn't really matter what the content is. It could be Oprah's Super Soul Sundays through to clips of Tony Robbins. GradEye's career advice. Find the content that really resonates with you and challenges you to look at yourself and situations in a new light, so that you're always learning and always growing. Finally, as I said at the end, I love Jack's tip about sending a video straight to the CEO or board members. As you know, the job market is a really crowded place at the moment. You need to do all that you can to stand out. Now, 99.9% of people who hear that tip aren't going to do it. It's going to be too much effort, it's going to be too much hassle, or it takes too long to record a bespoke video clip, so they're not going to bother. If you're the person that does it, you're the person that's going to see real results. So step outside of your comfort zone, take the risk, put the effort in, and make that good impression. And also, more importantly, don't forget to tell me how it went. Right, that's episode 8 put to bed. You can find a full transcript of everything that we've discussed and all the links at www.graduatejobpodcast.com/videocv. Please also get in touch on Twitter at GradJobPodcast. And if you've enjoyed the show, please leave a review on iTunes, just as Jay Gerard did, and left us 5 stars saying some great hints and tips in here that will help me to stand out versus all the other candidates. So thank you very much, Jay. And join us next week when we speak to Alistair Patterson and cover the topic of how to get a job with a tech startup. I hope you enjoyed the episode today, but more importantly, I hope you use it and apply it. See you next week.